Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today is June 9th, 2025, and we're here to break down the latest current affairs. We'll pull out the key info you need, especially if you're focused on your UPSC preparation.
Exactly. Think of this as your focused briefing. We're sifting through the sources to get you the core insights. This is part one for today.
And, some of these topics might ring a bell from our previous deep dives.
Which is actually great. It means we're building that knowledge base, and it's a perfect chance for a bit of revision on the go.
Absolutely. We've got quite a mix today: environment, history, some really cool science, and even governance updates. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it, starting with environment and geography.
Sounds like a plan. First up, the Ranthambore Tiger Reserve, RTR.
Ah, yes. And the big headline here is a Supreme Court directive, isn't it?
It is. The court has told the Rajasthan government, quite firmly, to immediately ban all mining within the core area of RTR.
And that's really significant. Protecting these core areas is fundamental for conservation. It's the heartland, the most secure habitat, especially critical for species like tigers.
Right. No disturbance allowed there, ideally.
Exactly. This ruling reinforces that principle.
The sources also give us a good picture of RTR itself. It's in the Powai Lake district.
Southeastern Rajasthan.
And the name, it comes from the Ranthambore Fort, the historic one.
Which is actually inside the reserve, a World Heritage Site too.
Didn't know that. And geographically, it's nestled between hills.
That's right, the Vindhyas and the Aravallis. And it's bordered by rivers, the Banas to the north, and the Chambal runs along the south.
Got it. And there are lakes inside too, Padam Talab.
Padam Talab,
Yeah.
Rajbak Talab, Malik Talab. Yes, important water bodies within the reserve.
It's a pretty big area, one of the largest in northern India, about 1,411 square kilometers.
And the vegetation is mostly dried deciduous forests, some open grassy meadows. The Jushuk tree is dominant there.
Plus, besides tigers, you've got leopards, caracals, sambar, chitals, a whole range of wildlife.
So that Supreme Court order is directly about protecting that specific vital ecosystem.
Makes sense. Okay, shifting gears slightly, let's talk about the Kalvarayan Hills.
Right. And the news hook here is really heartwarming.
It really is. The first tribal girl from this community has secured admission to an IIT. That's fantastic news.
Absolutely fantastic. And it brings attention to these hills, which are part of the Eastern Ghats in Tamil Nadu.
Geographically speaking, what's their significance?
Well, they play a role in separating river basins. They sit between the Kaveri Basin to the south and the Palar Basin up north. They're part of a chain with other hills like Pachamalai and Javadi.
Okay. And they stretch across a few districts northeast from Salem, covering about 195 square kilometers.
That's the area, yes. And they're divided into two main sections. The Chinna-Kalrayans,
The smaller ones.
relatively speaking, averaging around 2,700 feet. And then the Pariya-Kalrayans, which are higher, averaging about 4,000 feet.
It sounds like a beautiful area, too. Grassy jungles, forests, even sholas.
Yeah, and features like waterfalls, Megam,
Yeah.
Periyar, a botanical park, temples. There's also the Gumuki Dam at the foothills.
And the people living there.
They're indigenous people, specifically the Malayan tribes. So seeing this educational success story emerge from that community is, well, it's truly inspiring.
It really highlights the impact education can have. Okay, let's move to an urban setting now, Powai Lake in Mumbai.
The news here is a bit unusual, the cancellation of a Save Powai Lake event, a human chain planned by locals.
Canceled because the local authority wanted a fee, apparently.
That's what the sources suggest, yes. An odd reason, but it does put the spotlight back on the lake itself.
Right. And Powai Lake isn't natural, is it?
No, it's artificial. Built back in 1890 by the British, they used two dams, and the idea was to boost Mumbai's, well, Bombay's then water supply.
And the hills around it are part of the Western Ghat.
The lowest slopes, yes, on the south side. The lake itself has a catchment of about 6.6 square kilometers, and the depth varies, 3 to 12 meters.
And many people would know it because of the institutions nearby.
Exactly. IT Bombay and NeVA are right there.
But it's also ecologically important for Mumbai, isn't it? There's a bird sanctuary.
Yes, the Powai Bird Sanctuary surrounds it. It's a key spot for resident birds and also migratory ones. The sources even list some interesting rarer species seen there, like the watercock and pheasant-tailed jacana.
So conserving these urban water bodies is crucial, but must be challenging with the city right there.
Hugely challenging. Balancing urban needs with biodiversity is always tricky, but these green or blue patches in cities are vital. Okay, moving from urban geography to historical geography. Raja Bhabhut Singh.
Ah, yes. The news is that the Madhya Pradesh government is renaming the Pachmarhi Wildlife Sanctuary after him.
Which is a significant recognition for this 19th century tribal leader.
Tell us about him. He was a Gond king.
A key king of the Gond tribe, yes. His family had a history of opposing the British. His grandfather apparently supported Peshwa Appa Saheb Bonsley. His own realm included areas around Jabalpur and the Satpura Hills.
And he played a role in the 1857 revolt.
A major role. He was a formidable opponent. He used his deep knowledge of the Satpura forests, the terrain, to wage effective guerrilla warfare against the British. He even allied with Katya Tope for a time.
Guerrilla tactics in the forest.
Exactly. And he was apparently very successful at it. Our sources say he kept British forces occupied there until 1860. They actually had to bring in the Madras infantry to track him down.
Wow. He earned a nickname for it.
He did Shivaji of Narmadakal.
Oh.
Eventually, though, he was captured and executed, making him a martyr in the eyes of many. His memory lives on, especially in the folk traditions of the Korku tribe in that region.
It's important to recognize these figures, isn't it? Especially tribal leaders involved in resistance movements. And the Gond tribe's presence in central India makes Pachmarhi a fitting place for this honor.
Definitely, acknowledging that part of history. Okay, that covers our environment and geography section. Shall we move to science and tech?
Let's do it. Always some fascinating stuff here. First up, bacteriophages.
Or phages, for short. And they're getting renewed attention because of the growing crisis of antimicrobial resistance, AMR.
Right, AMR is a huge global health threat, so phages are viruses.
They are viruses, yes, but you could call them good viruses in this context. They specifically prey on bacteria that infect and kill them.
Okay, good viruses. I like that. And they're incredibly common.
Unbelievably common. Found everywhere. Water, soil, our own gut, skin. Some estimates suggest they outnumber bacteria perhaps 10 to 1 on Earth.
10 to 1, wow. And a key difference from antibiotics is their specificity.
Exactly. Unlike broad-spectrum antibiotics, which can wipe out beneficial bacteria too, phages are usually very specific, often targeting only certain strains of a particular bacterium. That's a major advantage.
And structurally, they're simple, just genetic material in a protein coat.
Pretty much. A nucleic acid molecule, DNA or RNA, single or double-stranded inside a protein structure.
Oh, and a quick historical note from the sources, viruses were first discovered by Dmitry Ivanovsky.
Ah, good detail. So how are they being used or considered for use as treatment? There are two main strategies outlined. One is phage therapy using natural phages. You identify the bacteria causing the infection, find a phage that works against it, maybe from large collections called phage banks, grow lots of it, and administer it.
So find the right predator for the prey.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
The other approach is using genetically engineered phages. These are modified in the lab, perhaps to attack a wider range of bacteria or work more effectively.
And where have these approaches been tried?
Sources mention areas like treating infected burns, foot ulcers, gut infections, even some respiratory and urinary tract infections. The potential against drug-resistant bacteria is the big driver here.
It sounds very promising. Definitely something to watch in the fight against AMR. Okay, next we're going into nuclear physics territory. Proton emission.
Right. The specific news is about measuring the half-life of a very exotic isotope, astatine-188, 188.8, which is the heaviest known proton emitter.
Okay, proton emission. That's a type of radioactive decay.
It is, but a rare one. Basically, an unstable atomic nucleus spits out a proton to become more stable. Radioactive decay is just that general process of unstable atoms transforming.
So how does a proton actually get out of the nucleus? It seems like it should be bound in there pretty tightly.
It does. There are two main ways mentioned. One is called beta-delayed proton emission. That happens after a different decay process, beta decay, leaves the nucleus in an excited state, and then a proton can escape.
Okay, and the other way?
Is ground state proton emission. Here, the proton escapes directly from the nucleus in its lowest energy state. This is more like alpha decay, where a helium nucleus is emitted.
So for this ground state emission to happen, the proton needs to be sort of barely held in.
Precisely. The sources explain the condition is a negative proton separation energy. This means the proton isn't strongly bound and can actually tunnel out.
Tunneling, like quantum tunneling.
Exactly. It's a quantum mechanical effect where a particle passes through an energy barrier. It wouldn't have enough energy to overcome classically.
Right. Fascinating. And these proton emitters, they don't occur naturally.
No, they're too unstable. They're typically created in nuclear reactions, usually using particle accelerators.
Yeah.
They're very proton-rich nuclei.
And the rate they decay, the half-life, what determines that?
It's governed by complex forces inside the nucleus, the nuclear force, the electromagnetic Coulomb force, and also effects related to angular momentum, the centrifugal potential. That last one, the centrifugal part, significantly impacts the rate. Measuring these half-lives, like they did for 188 AS, gives physicists vital data to test their models of nuclear structure.
So studying these rare events helps understand the fundamentals. Very cool. Okay, from the subatomic to something very practical. The Drum Web app.
Yes, this is an interesting development from ICRD core researchers and students.
It's a navigation app.
Sort of, but with a specific focus. It's described as a green mobility planning tool. Think Google Maps, but adding layers for air quality and energy efficiency.
Green mobility, meaning low environmental impact.
Yeah, the source defines it as energy-efficient transport with low environmental effect. So the app aims to help you achieve that.
How does it work? Does it give you different route options?
It gives you 5. The absolute shortest, the absolute fastest, then one designed for the least exposure to air pollution, they call it LEP.
LEP, okay.
Another for the least energy consumption, LECR. And finally, a suggested route that tries to balance these factors.
And the data it uses is real-time.
That's a key feature highlighted. It fetches live pollution and traffic data when you make the request, not just using older data.
Where does it get this live data? Especially pollution, which isn't measured everywhere.
Good question. It uses tools like Grasshopper for routing, Mapbox for traffic. The pollution data comes from official sources like the CPCB, the Central Pollution Control Board.
Ah, the national body for standards.
Right, and also the World Air Quality Index. For areas between sensors, they use a clever interpolation method dividing the route into segments and estimating pollution based on nearby readings.
Smart. And they tested this.
They did, simulating RITs in Delhi's different corridors under various conditions. The key finding was pretty telling.
Which was?
That often the shortest or fastest routes go right through the most polluted zones. So any time or distance you save might be offset by significantly higher pollution exposure.
That really makes you think about your route choices, a practical use of tech for health and environment.
Definitely adds another dimension to planning your travel in a city. Okay, our last item in SciTech is the Bailey Bridge.
Bailey Bridge. The news hook involves Milam village in Uttarakhand.
Yes, residents there faced major problems after an avalanche damaged their Bailey Bridge, which crossed the Gawaka River.
That sounds like it would cut them off. So what exactly is a Bailey Bridge?
It's a type of portable, prefabricated modular bridge made of standard parts that can be assembled quickly.
Portable bridge. Sounds useful. Who invented it?
An English civil engineer, Donald Coleman Bailey, back in 1941. It was developed during World War II.
Ah, wartime invention.
Yes. First used by the British Army in North Africa in 1942, and then used extensively throughout the war.
What makes it so special? Why is it good for situations like the one in Uttarakhand?
Its main advantages are its modularity, built from standard panels, portability, strength, and versatility. Crucially, it's designed for rapid construction without needing heavy equipment like cranes.
Really? How do they build it then?
The steel panels are light enough to be handled by manpower. They're pinned or bolted together to form sections, which then make up the truss structure of the bridge. This truss design distributes the load effectively.
So you can assemble it relatively quickly, even in difficult spots.
Exactly. That's key in remote areas or disaster zones, where getting heavy machinery in is impossible. It takes too long. They can span rivers, valleys, usually for moderate distances, and can even support heavy loads like tanks. Still incredibly useful today.
Amazing piece of engineering. Okay, that wraps up science and technology. Let's move to our final segment, governance and international relations.
First topic here is NeVA, the National e-Vidhan application.
Right, and the news is its upcoming inauguration for the Puducherry Legislative Assembly on June 9th.
Correct. NeVA is essentially a digital platform aiming to make state legislatures in India paperless.
Part of a larger digital push.
Yes, under the vision of One Nation, One Application. It's driven by the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, MOPA, and the goal is to implement it across all 37 state and UT legislatures.
How's the rollout going? Are many states using it?
Progress seems steady. Sources say 28 state legislatures have signed the MAU, and 18 legislative houses are already fully digital. And you might recall, Nagaland was the very first state to adopt the NeVA.
Ah, yes, Nagaland first. Good point. What does the app actually do for legislators?
It's designed to be user-friendly. It gives members digital access to all House business information notices, reports, questions, proceedings right on their devices. It also helps government departments interact with the legislature.
And it's secure.
It's hosted on the Maharashtra National Cloud, which is the government's secure cloud platform.
I also saw a mention of translation features. That sounds important.
It is. A key feature highlighted is its integration with Pashini and MIAT, the IT Ministry for AI and Machine Learning-based real-time translation. This aims to improve linguistic inclusivity, allowing proceedings to be understood across different languages used in various state assemblies.
That's a big step for accessibility and transparency in governance.
Definitely part of that broader trend of digitizing government functions. Okay, finally today, let's look at the BRICS Parliamentary Forum.
The news being the conclusion of the 11th forum, which was held in Brasilia, Brazil.
Right. This forum acts as a platform for dialogue and cooperation between the parliaments of the BRICS member nations.
And BRICS itself has grown recently. Who are the members involved in this forum now?
The sources list the expanded group: India, Brazil, Russia, China, South Africa, the original 5, plus Iran, the UAE, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Indonesia.
That's a significant expansion. When did this parliamentary forum start?
The first one was back in June 2015 in Moscow. India hosted it once in October 2016, though that meeting was in Geneva. The chairmanship rotates each year.
Any word on who's next?
Yes, India has officially taken over the chairmanship for the 12th forum, which is planned for 2026.
So India leading the parliamentary discussions in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Good to know. Remind us quickly about BRICS itself, the acronym origin.
It was coined by Jim O'Neill in 2001, initially BRIC, representing Brazil, Russia, India, and China.
South Africa joined later?
Yes, South Africa joined in 2010, making it BRICS. The core idea was grouping major developing economies to potentially exert more influence collectively on the global stage, challenging the dominance of established Western powers.
And the newest members joined.
In 2024, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Ethiopia, the UAE, and Egypt joined. And then Indonesia became a full member on January 6, 2025, so it's a significantly larger bloc now.
It certainly is. Wow, okay, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We really have, from environmental rulings in Ranthambore and inspiring stories from the Kalvarayan Hills to urban lake conservation issues.
Then into bacteriophages, fighting AMR, the intricacies of proton emission, smart city tech like the DRAM app, and the enduring utility of daily bridges.
Wrapping up the digitalization of legislatures through NeVA and the evolving dynamics of the expanded BRICS group. It's a real snapshot of current events.
Absolutely. And hopefully, by diving deep into these sources, we've pulled out the essential information you need for your UPSC preparation, saving you some time and effort along the way.
As a final thought, maybe consider the connections. Think about how technological innovation, like we saw with DRAM or NeVA, is responding to or shaping environmental challenges like pollution or governance needs, or how history, like Raja Bhabhut Singh's story, continues to resonate in contemporary decisions like renaming a sanctuary. It's all interconnected.
That's a great point. Seeing those links is key. Well, that's all for part 1 of our deep dive for June 9th. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you listening.
We do indeed.
Please do like and subscribe if you find these deep dives helpful. It ensures you won't miss future ones tailored for your prep journey. Until next time.